There are only two ways to live your life. The first is as if there were no miracles. The second is as if everything in the world is a miracle. Albert Einstein. This quote begins a historical drama, the book of my father, Anatoly Rakhvarger, the Pentateuch of the Miracles of Soviet Jews. This was a favorite quote of my father and mine, because both he and I are firmly convinced that everything in life is a miracle, and so we live believing in it. A year has passed since the moment when my beloved father Anatoly Rakhvarger left this life. His dying wish was the translation and publishing of a book, a historical novel, which he wrote, The Pentateuch of Miracles of Soviet Jews, in English. He also dreamed of making a film based on his historical drama. During his life, after writing the book, my father answered many of the questions of his grandson Jeffrey Yefim in Russian with the same phrase, "Read my book." But Jeffrey doesn't read Russian well. And now that my father is gone, in the process of creating an audio version of the book in Russian, I reread it and understood why Dad, Anatoly Rakhvarger, spoke like that. Today, it is a great honor for me, the daughter of Anatoly Rakhvarger, to create fundraising campaign in the memory of my father's dream to translate and publish the historical drama, The Pentateuch of Miracles of Soviet Jews, into English in print, electronic, and audio versions. My family and I feel that the publishing of the book in English will be not only a continuation of the legacy of Anatoly Rakhvarger, but also a great gift to humanity. The book describes not only the people and events taking place during the era of the Soviet Tsar Joseph Stalin, but also the miracles that took place in those days, as well as answers to questions related to what is happening in the world in USA and Russia. Dad, as if predicting in the book some of the events that happened in 2020 and continue to happen now. The Pentateuch of the Miracles of Soviet Jews, this is the final concluding act, is Anatoly's parting gift to the world. The book is a culmination of a beautiful roller coaster of a life that runs concurrently with the access of consequential historical events. Anatoly Rakhvarger offers readers a comprehensive understanding of what life was like for Soviet Jews, where he shares fascinating stories, second-person accounts on critical events, and puts forth an analysis and perspective on various controversial topics regarding the Jewish people and life in the Soviet Union. Anatoly's historical drama explores themes of persecution, discrimination concerning Jewish people, and puts forth, though provoking, arguments that cause readers to carefully examine their own conceptions and political allegations. Brilliantly intertwining religious tenets, philosophies with his historical accounts and discussions, Anatoly formats the book in a Torah-like style, elaborate on how it's formatted in Jewish-like way. Simply said, this book is a bona fide masterpiece, a highly informative work that challenges mainstream public opinion and status quo on numerous topics regarding Jewish life, Soviet influence, and the future of American values. The Pentateuch of the Miracles of Soviet Jews also contains a personal touch, giving readers a glimpse into his upbringing and career. Anatoly sets the stage for later discussion of the insufficiencies of the Soviet system and the inherent Soviet anti-Semitism. My father, Anatoly Rakhvarger, was born on July 24, 1937, lived most of his life in Moscow. He is the son of Efim Lazarevich Rakhvarger. Efim Rakhvarger was an outstanding scientist in the field of ceramics and was twice nominated and awarded the Lenin Prize, the most prestigious award of the Soviet Union for achievements in science, literature, art, architecture, and technology. Anatoly Rakhvarger, a graduate of Institute of Chemical Technology. Despite the anti-Semitic barriers, he managed to overcome and successfully obtain his PhD degree and then became a doctor of technical science. At the age of 14, he lost his mother, Agustina, after whom he named me. Early in his career, he spent time researching scientific literature, methods, and working on projects that intrigued him. Like many in the field of science, my father was focused on his work, and it was my mother, Zinaida Rakhvarger, a smart and energetic woman who managed the finances. As a faithful and devoted wife, she gave him the opportunity to focus on his work. We immigrated to New York in 1991, and my father, already a PhD and Doctor of Science in Engineering, volunteered as a research professor at Brooklyn Polytechnic University. During this time, he became an author who published 200 articles and textbooks. He held scientific and technical conferences and seminars in the United States and looked for investors for his patents. Among his American achievements is the invention of a new nanotechnology method for making superconducting ceramic wires. Another patent describes a highly cost-effective thermochemical method system for treating household waste along with commercial and industrial waste. My father Anatoly was a kind, intelligent person. He was also principled and wise. It is safe to say that my father, a renowned scientist, doctor of science, and a holder of multiple dynamic patents for world-changing innovation, have left a permanent mark on the world in his 83 years of life. His curriculum vitae is astounding sight and can invoke quite an effect for its sounding list of achievements, which goes on almost indefinitely. One must be equipped with a cup of strong espresso and a reliable pair of glasses to navigate the waters of Anatoly's achievements. But here's the thing. To my much surprise, Anatoly's greatest gift to mankind was not only his scientific achievements or brilliant creations, but rather the book, the historical drama, the Pentateuch of Miracles of Soviet Jews, which he published toward the end of his life. We are confident that this book will attract millions of readers, especially citizens with an active life position who take part in political life of society. In Anatoly's eyes, the past is indication of the future. So, describing the suffering of the Jewish people is of paramount importance. History repeats itself frequently. The authoritarian leaders of the past are being reborn with new faces in a different cultural context. It is our duty to make sure that the search for freedom by our predecessors is not in vain. Read Anatoly's book, The Pentateuch of the Miracles of Soviet Jews, and experience the ultimate trifecta of reading: entertainment, enlightenment, inspiration. You would be remiss not to get your hands on a book like this. I already mentioned that one of my father's greatest wishes was for many as possible to learn about the book, the Pentateuch of the Miracles of Soviet Jews. Believe me, my father's objective was not so much of being an esteemed author. That was a very humble man, but because he revealing and fulfilling a promise of at least 50 years of silence. Anatoly Rakhvarger talks about Ilya Ehrenburg, a well-known Russian writer and poet, and about the miracle of Ehrenburg's salvation of the Soviet Jews from death, like the miracle of Purim. After reading the book, the reader understands that this novel script is like the script of the Torah or the Bible, Old Testament, where the significant part is occupied by the events of the mass exodus of Jews from Soviet Union, like it happened once during a Passover. The fifth part of the book, Scenario Scenery, presents 14 essays on history, peculiarities of eugenics, problems in future of the Jewish people. In the book, the author provides multi-layered artistic panorama of 100 years of the life of Soviet Jews, which is composed of a mosaic of 126 topical testimonials of the author, his relatives and friends. Nothing fictional and no stereotypes. The novel is read, as they say, in one breath, regardless of the age, education, and occupation of the readers. Despite the fact that 2020 was one of the most difficult morally and financially, especially after the death of my father, me and my mom were still able to create an audio version of the book in Russian, and together with the electronic version, you can find the book on Amazon, online bookstore, or Litres.ru, Ozon, and Reader.ru. Knowing how father was obsessed with the idea in the book's distribution, the Pentateuch of Miracles of Soviet Jews, my mother and I also create a monument on Anatoly's grave in the form of his book cover. Today, sitting at my father's grave, I promised him that finding funds for translation into English and publishing his book in print, electronic, and audio versions in English will be my mission. My family and I are grateful in advance for your financial contribution of any size. As soon as the book is published in English, for everyone who contributes $100 or more, I will personally contact you and send you the book by Anatoly Rakhvarger, The Pentateuch of the Miracles of Soviet Jews, in print, electronic, and audio versions in English. Thank you in advance.